landscape.
Good evening, all. Welcome to a new episode of Midweek Mix-Up Podcast with special guest this week, Jez Corden from Windows Central and Windows Central Gaming. Before we get into introductions, of course, we will have a little bit of a discussion with Jez, get him introduced first and foremost. Jez, welcome to the show, brother. It's been a long time coming, but a pleasure to have yourself. How are you doing today? What you been up to? I know it's been a very busy time at the moment and plenty to cover. So, if you want to introduce yourself, mate?
Yeah, it's been a wild week in the work land of game blogging or whatever my job is. I was expecting a nice and quiet January, because usually what happens is November's crazy, December's crazy, October's crazy, and then it's like January's a nice quiet period where there's no major news, there's no major games, nothing really happens. It's a nice relaxing period after Christmas. But no, Microsoft said no, there's no breaks for you because we're gonna spend $70 billion on a company, and the whole internet is freaking out now. So that was fun, and yeah, that's busy times, but fun times, right?
Oh, very fun,
right?
Very fun, yeah. Jez, I want to know as well, and I'm sure obviously a lot of people in here, as much as they might watch your content, they might not know where you started your essential career in gaming journalism, as it were. How did you get into it? yeah, journalism. I know you've said this. One of your tweet on Twitter as well. I seen the reply as well, and I don't class myself as a journalist.
I don't think it's a real job personally, but some people do. I used to work. I'm working class scum from the north of England. I using like Web 1.0 standards, so I'll learn the modern CSS, HTML standards and make a blog. And I thought, what do I like? I like Xbox, I like Windows Phone and stuff like that. I'll make a blog about this, and now I'm here. That's basically how it happened.
You were the front end of the Windows Phone.
Still to this day, he wants the Windows Phone back.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I said in another podcast somewhere that if Microsoft finishes this deal for Activision, I will finally forgive them for Windows Phone. I will finally forgive them. They spent $70 billion on me. I think I can finally forgive them for Windows Phone. But yeah, that's how it happened. Like, I was just blogging for fun. I didn't go to school, journalism school, if that even is a real qualification people can get. And I don't know, it's been crazy. And thanks to all you guys. Speak to a lot of you on Twitter I recognize, and the Xbox community's been amazing. So yeah, try and deliver for everybody, and fun times.
Definitely. I mean, it's obviously Windows Central now, Windows Central Game, and it's obviously come a long way over the years. But how did that? I mean, obviously you started off as just a blog, so how did that end up growing to the point where you're now employing people? That's an awesome thing to do.
Windows Central was like it used to be called Windows Phone Central, WP Central, and they only covered phones, and they were in like a small company called Mobile Nations, and there was iMore.com, which covered iPhone, Android Central, which covers Android, and Windows Phone Central, which covered Windows Phone. But they kind of realized that Windows Phone probably wasn't long for this world. So they rebranded themselves to Windows Central. And around the time they did that, they were like, well, if we're going to cover more than Windows Phone, we probably need other bloggers, right? And I'd been invited by Nokia to go and see a Lumia launch in Barcelona. And I was just mind blown. I was like, wow, I can't believe how lucky I am. I'm just gonna enjoy this while it lasts. And I was like, with all these other sort of small bloggers and YouTubers, basically the 5 people that would cover Windows Phone, and that Nokia invited to this event, and Windows Central was there, Dan Rubino was there, and some of the other bloggers were there, and from Windows Central, which was a small site at the time. I think it had like 8 8 to 10 employees or something.
Yeah.
And they offered me a job, and I was like, okay. I had no idea. And then I was just like, well, my other job's minimum wage, and there's no possibility of promotion or anything, so I got nothing to lose really. And the guy who was running Mobile Nation at the time, he was like, prove that we can make this gaming thing work, because I don't know anything about it, and I only know about phones and whatever. So it was just me and 2 other part-timers writing about Xbox, and now it's grown to like 15 million users and stuff. It's just been crazy. Like thinking about it back, it's just crazy how it's gone. I had no idea this was going to happen, but I'm very grateful. Very grateful.
Oh, most definitely. It's been awesome to see, to be honest, and it's obviously it's such a strange place now. You look back even a few years, kind of where social media's took everything. Obviously, websites themselves that rely primarily on just generic website traffic now, and now with the addition of your social medias, obviously Facebook originally, then MySpaces before that, but even MySpace you wouldn't have used really for those purposes. But now Twitter being the force that it is, how's that really affected what you do now going forward? Of course, you've got your own personalized voice, and outside of just the Windows Central, which is a good thing because of course you can separate the two. How's that affected kind of both aspects?
That's probably important. Yeah, I'd say like we grew our whole platform through my use of Twitter, really. And I've always I follow my North Star of telling the truth, being myself, for better or worse. Even if it gets me in trouble sometimes, and just being real, being real, a real gamer, like the audience, trying to align myself with that mentality of I am a gamer and a consumer, because I still have I've been doing this now for 8 years.
Yeah.
But I still have really strong memories of not being able to afford games, like, at all. One of my strongest memories as a kid is being picked on at school because I couldn't afford an N64, and my mom was just like, "We're not getting this console. You can have this console instead." And I just remember a lot of these these memories. So when as Windows Central, we're a tech site first. We're not a traditional game site. We're a tech site first.
Yeah.
So a big emphasis of ours is focus on value for money and focus on the objective things about a product. Like if it's a laptop, like does it explode? Does it catch fire? These kind of things. And we approach coverage of games in the sort of the same mindset. It's like, are they putting out a good product? Like, because the art side of it's a bit more subjective, and we're a bit less interested in that. It's more like, is this a good consumer product from a technical perspective, as much as humanly possible? Because games are always a little bit subjective, and so I think like the approach is a bit of fresh maybe for the industry, in some ways, because I think establishment game press, they work hard and stuff, but I do think there's this sort of weird gap between game press and regular gamers sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I think we've got to agree. I think that's the kind of part of the tweet that you put out the other day was really to kind of talk about that. It was the fact that there's this disconnect between what is actually going on with gamers and sometimes where some of these journalists have got their own minds, and it's not on the same plane at all, or what they think about and what they talk about. And sometimes they, like you say, certain journalists, I will never name names, but certain journalists do specifically think their opinion is above all, which is, I think we've all noticed that. And journalism gets like at times certain articles go out and they think it's true or say something and they believe that it's their word above all else. It's such a weird place.
I think journalism is important, and it serves an important role in society of holding a big company to account, holding a politician to account, discovering things that, you know, regular people wouldn't be able to discover. Like even myself, like, you know, I leaked product information, but I rarely do the kind. I don't know how to do it, frankly.
Yeah.
The kind of journalism where you build a story and you speak to people and, you know, you find things out, and the idea is that you build a better culture for the people who are affected. That's the idea behind journalism. It's like it's meant to be for the people and for the workers ultimately. But I think sometimes it gets a bit blurry when it's sort of like, you know, ideology clashes with what the regular consumer class might be in their interests, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's where the disconnect sometimes happens. But I don't know. It's really complicated and messy, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm still trying to figure it out myself. You know,
Well,
I don't know what I'm doing. Which is why I always just follow that North Star of be your true, honest self.
Yep.
And you know, the rest will
follow.
Learn as you go.
To your point earlier, though,
you guys at the window. Sorry for jumping in here. But I've been following Windows Central for a long time. And actually, because it is what you and the team are doing is actual game journalism. We don't have that often these days anymore. If we go to the bigger outlets, they are simply reporting on the news, rather than creating, like you said, these little bit more investigative storylines. And that's definitely something unique about Windows Central.
Yeah, I mean, some of the guys on Windows Central, they do such a great job. Like Zach Bowden, for example, has put out some amazing work recently. Like he uncovered the last Windows Phone operating system and had an engineer hack it onto an old Windows Phone and then posted a video recently. And I was just like, man, that is just like a crazy amount of work, you know, and something that, and this operating system would have been lost to time. It'd be like hidden away in some Microsoft vault and no one would ever see it. And you know, that's hopefully what we try to do at Windows Central, is uncover the uncoverable. And I think some people don't like that, the fact that we focus on one platform, because they do have a console war mindset and they're like, oh well, they're favoring Xbox, but just don't have time to look at other platforms. It's not like, you know, and being within one ecosystem lets us focus, you know. Lets us focus on Microsoft. We wouldn't be able to get some of the stuff we do get if we weren't laser focused on Microsoft. Like we all have PlayStations and other platforms and Nintendo's. Well, I don't have a PlayStation, but you know, I have a Nintendo Switch, and you know, a lot of the team don't even use Windows; they use Linux, and which boggles my mind. And then my boss is a Mac user, which, you know, fair enough.
Are you so you're the only one on Windows at this point?
So you are the Windows.
Maybe.
You are the Windows Central.
Yeah.
You know, Microsoft's like, they just interest me, you know. I couldn't cover PlayStation if I wanted to, because it's just not as interesting as a company to me. I like the big companies, not your Amazons and your Googles. What are they doing?
Yeah.
You know, I want to hold them to account, because big tech is kind of scary.
Oh, it's very scary, but it's also the stuff that pushes the industry forward. The big tech is the stuff that truly advances the industry. Sometimes, obviously, it does have to be by force to get stuff done, because if it doesn't, we don't progress. But I wanted to go back to one of your points, actually, when you were mentioning, and that's a great point about the consumerism. And I also remember years ago when now obviously we're in a good job and we can afford all these luxuries and get games and not have to worry about kind of games and things so much these days. But I remember years and years ago being in a shitty job and having to sell a game to buy a game, or having to lose games that I really like just to go out and get a new game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now, and now that's why I refuse to now. I'm like, no, I'm going to get hundreds of hard drives and I'm just going to store them all on, even if I'm not playing them. It's just the knowledge now that I don't have to sell them to buy something else is what I enjoy. It's like, yes, like these are mine. I don't have to get rid of them anymore. No matter what happens, I'm good. And that's a great thing about why we're so pro Game Pass, as it were, and I think obviously you're the same, is it's the consumer aspect of Game Pass. Granted, you don't have you're not owning the games, but what also you're not doing is having to worry about the forking out of $60 every other day, every other week, and worrying or having not just the FOMO, as it were, with games these days. Because obviously, if all of your friends are playing it, the new Halo, and you can't afford to buy it, then obviously that is a FOMO. But now everybody can enjoy it, everybody can get on it straight away, and it's a very little cost. So even the people that are struggling or on minimum wage will be able to afford it. And I think that's the major thing here. It's bringing in the accessibility of gaming to people on all wage brackets. You can, if you're full of money, buy them all, go for it, have fun. If you're very conservative with your money, use Game Pass, buy a couple of games. If you're pretty skint, you're on a low paid job, but you still want to play games, Game Pass has you covered as well. That's it, the consumer aspect of it, and I'm sure that's exactly why, again, one of the main reasons you love it as well.
And the first 3 months is only $1.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an awesome service, and I do constantly think, like, I don't want to get to that point where I forget what it was like. Because I do get games for free now, and I do have the money to just buy games randomly. I do have the money to buy like every season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians on Xbox, and just waste my money on frivolous, stupid stuff like that. But for the longest time, I didn't, and especially when I was a kid, my single mother, who was on very low wages in one of the poorest towns in the UK. My town was recently voted number 2 of the worst places to live in England. So wow. I'm traumatized by this experience, and it does bug me when people are like, they ignore what Game Pass brings to that section of the market.
Yeah,
there's a lot of poverty out there, and Game Pass can mitigate some of the gaming in general, mitigates some of the horrors of being alive.
Yeah.
Not to get too dark with it, but and Game Pass gives you access to all of that stuff. I mean, that's why free-to-play games are so popular now.
Yeah.
Fortnites and stuff like that, and because they eliminate that barrier, but obviously there's that FOMO aspect. And I really do think, if we're talking about market consolidation and the chilling effect that big companies have over games, you got to look at what Tencent's doing with free-to-play games. If Tencent had its way, everything would be a Fortnite and a League of Legends.
Yeah.
And the idea of a sort of creative game like Psychonauts 2, it's harder to justify for publishers to make these kind of creative experiences, which is why I think Game Pass is also so important, is because it sort of liberates the creative aspect of gameplay in the sense that these games can exist more freely in a Game Pass world. So I don't know. Microsoft can buy like everyone for all I care, as long as they keep supporting Game Pass and supporting all those niches and creating a thriving environment for devs.
Yeah.
Screw it. Put everything in Game Pass.
Yeah, put it all there.
That's my mentality. But
nice, easy one for you then. Well, I would say easy. It might be actually quite hard, to be honest. What's your favorite gaming franchise of all time?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's hard. It changes over the years based on how crappy the publisher's been. Because it used to be Dragon Age.
Yep.
But I hate EA now because of what they've done to BioWare. So I can't say Dragon Age anymore. It used to be Warcraft, but after what Activision Blizzard's done to Warcraft over the years, I don't know if it is anymore. So, So as of right now, it's like, it's weird. I think of like, I'm really big on Dark Souls at the moment, even though I've only played one of them. I got into Dark Souls 2 months ago, and I'm just in love with it. So I've nearly finished Dark Souls 1. I've got like the DLC to do and then the last boss, and that's it. And then I love Elder Scrolls. I love Fallout. I just like my Western RPGs, man. My single player games. Fallout, Wasteland, stuff like that, depressing games
Yeah.
that remind me of home.
Post-apocalyptic stuff.
Yeah, apocalyptic stuff. That reminds me of the north of England. You know,
Definitely
the
certain
West, well, the
sections.
West Midlands.
Yeah.
You know how it's like, Dutch. You live there.
Yep, I do.
Oh, yeah, Shomberlon as well, right? Yeah, Shomberlon as well.
Shom's Scotland. Shom's Scotland.
Oh yeah, that's all. That's the same. It's all up north.
I dare you to tell a Scotsman that it's the same.
Yeah. Don't say that too loud. Don't say that down the pub in Glasgow. Oh boy.
And one of the that final question before we jump into the actual topics. One of the guys at Gamers Watch podcast, I wanted to know if it had to be a world without Dark Souls or a world without mayonnaise, what would you choose?
Oh, I can live without mayonnaise. I can live without it. I am a big fan of mayonnaise, but man, if I got rid of Dark Souls for mayonnaise, I think the world would come after me in a way that I've never seen before. So I would choose Dark Souls to survive. I think I can take mayonnaise and leave it. Marmite though, Marmite.
Oh,
that's a different argument.
Is that a new kettle of fish? Is it?
Yeah, maybe.
The new thing, Marmite. Awesome, awesome stuff. We are going to get into the main topics, of course, of this week, and primarily for ourselves. Jez might have heard a little bit more about these rumours than us, but of course the guys over at Xbox Era, Shepsel, Nick, etc., they have been discussing potentially the revival of Gears and Fable or Fable remastered collections. Jez, have you heard much of these? And if you had to choose between the two, which one would you choose? Would you choose Fable or would you choose Gears? Personally, I would choose Fable.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Like, I haven't heard anything about this room myself, so this is all Nick. But like, if I was working on a big Fable reboot, having a big Fable collection remastered would be a great way to market the upcoming reboot.
Yeah,
and maybe even cash flow it. If they do a good job and it doesn't cost too much to do the remaster. So yeah, I think like I imagine in my head it's Fable that gets the sort of Fable collection, and Gears has already had sort of like FPS boost and resolution enhancements, and it's already had the Ultimate Edition kind of thing going for it. But
only the first.
Yeah, the first had the Ultimate Edition, and then Gears 2 and 3 had like their Xbox One X and Series X enhancements or whatever. Yeah. But it'd be kind of cool if there was like a one Gears client that sort of let you access the multiplayer maps of all 5 games. That'd be pretty cool.
Yes.
In one big package, because they're all on Unreal Engine, and I don't know how complicated that'd be to pull off. But increasingly, I see games like Call of Duty and Battlefield do this thing where they're like incorporating their older games into a single client. Like if you boot up like Call of Duty Vanguard, it lets you jump straight into Cold War from the same menu.
Yeah.
If you've got it installed, and Hitman does the same thing where you can play Hitman 1, 2, and 3 through the same client.
I think Battlefield does as well, doesn't it? Or Battlefield did.
Yeah. Battlefield did before 2042 died. God rest its soul.
Yep.
Dropped out of the top 50. Top 50 most played games. It's a catastrophic failure. Yeah, Battlefield 2042 dropped out of the top 50 played Xbox games.
Oh dear God.
Wow.
It does. And talking about that, I also seen that EA wants to make it a free-to-play game because of the lack of players.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah. It's in a bad place right now, Battlefield.
It is.
Dear me.
Yeah, Fable. I think it'll be Fable. If they do it.
Boxy, what do you think? Fable or Gears? Which one?
Fable, no doubt. I mean, Gears basically has the remaster treatment already with FPS boost, HDR, auto HDR, and so on. It still
Fable
looks
as
and
well.
runs beautiful now on the Series X. So I definitely go for Fable, and just like Jez said, it's been so long. I think what was it, 12 years ago, 13 years ago when Fable 3 came out. So if you do a reboot now of the franchise, it would definitely help to bring in some of the people that simply don't know the IP. And Fable was awesome, one of the best IPs on the 360, to be honest. I even enjoyed Fable 3, especially in couch co-op. I've played multiple times through it with my buddies on the couch. It's fantastic. Yeah, I'd love to see Fable probably remade or remastered. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think I've got to agree with Jez as well. It makes more sense from the fact that obviously you're currently developing the reboot of the game, and then push sales further for the reboot, push anticipation higher and further hype, etc. for the new game. The Fable sounds more like a logical choice as well to do a reboot of that one, or at least a remastered collection of the trilogy. Whereas obviously, even though the FOMO for a Marcus Phoenix collection as has been asked for many years, would be wanted by quite a few people, it doesn't from another aspect as well. Gears 6, as it were, is quite a way out. I think they've got another IP probably before that, haven't they? So, at least something else they're working on prior to Gears 6. So yeah, that makes sense anyway from that particular point of view. Pat, if you had to choose between Gears Marcus Phoenix collection and the Fable trilogy collection remastered, what would you choose if this rumor were to be true?
I will actually go for Fable because that's a game I never played. So excuse me for that, but yeah, like you guys said, also what Jez said, it's already upgraded, with the FPS boost and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I'll choose Fable because it's a game I never played before, so I'll go for that.
Awesome stuff. Vin, I know I can tell your answer immediately anyway, but I'll ask you the question: Phoenix collection or Fable collection?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna tell something, because you all are talking like only Gears had the FPS boost and resolution stuff, but Fable as well. But just to be different, I'm gonna go with the Phoenix collection. But I want them all, to be honest. But at the other hand, the Gears Ultimate Edition from Part 1 was fantastically done.
Yeah.
And the best parts are 2 and 3. So if they get the same quality as the Gears Ultimate Edition, it would make the series complete. So I'm gonna go with the Marcus Phoenix collection.
So instead of just having the first one done, you want the other two followed up with the same treatment.
and then they can do Fable as well.
Yeah.
And some other games.
Yeah.
I have a huge list. I have a huge list for Microsoft, with dead IPs they need to revive. So.
Yeah, and there's a lot of IPs they can revive now. Definitely.
Yeah, and they've plenty of studios and people now, so.
They do.
Even the studios that make normal games instead of Call of Duty can now go back to games they want instead of, help Call of Duty.
Yeah, instead of being forced into one corner.
Toys for Bob make a new Banjo-Kazooie. Woohoo!
Yeah, I've been shouting that off the rooftops as well. Toys for Bob, Banjo-Kazooie, 100%.
Yeah, and Conquer.
Yeah.
Shom.
Conquer Live Reloaded remaster.
What about yourself? Would you choose Fable or would you choose the Marcus Phoenix collection, or both? What would you go for?
I'd go with Fable.
Yeah.
For me, it just makes sense as long as they also package in the what was that other game they had? The pub games.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
The pub games. Yeah, that was good fun. But I'd like to see Fable or something like that. Just because it's been so long. I know they've had like the anniversary of the first one, but I think there's so much more they could do with it, especially if it was to be a little bit more of an updated engine. But it'd be interesting to see what it actually ends up being.
Yes. Yeah, most definitely. I'm really intrigued to see what the new one will be. But the thought of because I tried again. I'm one of these people as well, and some games hold up controls wise when you play them, and some don't. And I was trying to play the original Fable, the other month. I was like, right, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna play through the original trilogy, and then start playing the first one. I was like, you know what it is, these I just can't stick with these. The controls are okay, but I just couldn't deal with it. It felt a little bit more simplistic than I remembered it. I don't know what it was. The controls just felt really basic. I was like,
Did you play the original version or the anniversary?
The anniversary edition of the first one.
Okay. Yeah.
Obviously, it looks a bit better, but I'd love to see that really brought up to life and brought up to scratch and given the proper remaster treatment. I think it would look awesome.
Yeah.
100%.
Completely agree with you.
Yeah.
But also Gears.
But also Gears. Obviously, we don't know whether any of this is true. It is, of course, just one of the many rumors that circulate in the land of Xbox these days. But it does come from, I would say, a reliable source these days. Special Nick and the Xbox era guys do really great work. So shout out to them. Consistently, of course, even though their podcast is like a really raj hour, so it's quite hard to actually catch it live all the time. But shout out to the Xbox era guys. I know, even though Jez has got insomnia issues a lot of the time, so he's up and about and listening to everything when he can. Jez, I want to ask you specifically on this topic. World of Warcraft. The death and potential revival. Now,
look at his face.
Yes, it is, because it is true. It is the death and revival of World of Warcraft, or potential revival. Can you, obviously, in a brief span, can you summarize what it is over the last kind of year or more that Activision have done to really put World of Warcraft in the shit can? What is it that they've done so bad?
More like the last 10 years, really.
Yeah.
Activision seem to have this sort of mentality of like, let's put in the minimum effort, and they're really good at balancing putting in the minimum effort but just keeping things going. Sometimes they go a little bit too far, and we saw it happen with Skylanders, and we saw it happen with Guitar Hero, where they cut corners a little bit too much, and then it sort of kills the franchise, right?
Yeah,
we've seen them do it before. And they sort of maintain this balancing act between copy and paste and cutting corners and low effort, and balancing that with like what players actually want. And I think like in recent years, World of Warcraft started going down the path of copy and pasted systems and not really, budget writing and all this kind of stuff. Like you can really see it with World of Warcraft, like, because it's a game that's been going for 15 years. You can sort of see the decline very easily in the contradictions of the writing, like the character writing, like the way a character behaved in one expansion would like be completely different to now, because now they've got basically fan fiction tier people writing it rather than like actually good writers. So I don't know, but I think like I stopped playing it a few years ago because it just became so apparent that it was just copy and pasted everything, like with the new skin. Basically, what they do to Call of Duty, like all the new systems in the recent expansion were just the same as the last one, just sort of slightly tweaked with a new aesthetic, and which it gets boring, and it's like you want me to pay for the expansion and pay for a subscription. And that's why World of Warcraft's lost all these players. Like at its height, it was something like 10 million subscribers or something, maybe more.
Yeah.
And now it's below 2 million now.
It's
fallen behind Final Fantasy 14 and Robbie 1. Yeah. Yeah, it's that bad. It's lost basically all of its players. But even at 2 million, it's a very profitable game, because that's 2 million people paying £10 a month to play one game.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to the underlying engine, because it's still the most reactive action RPG combat system for an MMO in the world. Like it beats Final Fantasy 14 for its combat hands down, even now. even though it's like a 15-year-old engine, which is a testament to how good it used to be. The fact that combat's still so good. So I actually wrote an article this morning about all this and how I'm optimistic for Blizzard games under Microsoft, because under Microsoft, Activision's kind of shielded from the Activision Blizzard will be shielded from shareholders in a way they're currently not.
Yeah.
Like, people who invest in EA and people who invest in Activision, what they want out of those companies is more microtransactions, more cost cutting, more layoffs, less overheads. They want these things directly. But Microsoft shareholders, they only care about Azure. They're like, well, as long as Xbox and Surface are profitable, they don't really care about the day-to-day running of those businesses in a way that they care about EA and Activision being run. Because EA and Activision, all they do is games, and they have like one revenue stream, which is like, microtransactions and game sales. Whereas Microsoft, it's all about business to business and cloud. Like, Microsoft landed a contract with the US military for HoloLens for $20 billion. You know? That's what shareholders at Microsoft are interested in, like those kind of deals. And had the performance of the business to business section and Office and, stuff like that. So Xbox under Microsoft is basically left to its own devices. Like, on the earnings call, none of the analysts even asked about Activision Blizzard because they don't care. They're not interested in that stuff. They know Microsoft to make the money they spent on that in like a year, in a year or two, less than a year. They make all the money back that they spent on Activision, and easily. And they'd rather they were spending money in a time of inflation, because if your money's sitting in the bank with all this inflation, then it's literally losing value.
Yeah.
So under Microsoft, they only have to focus on making a good game, the Gamepass, ultimately. And Microsoft can take more creative. I feel like Microsoft can take more creative risks. They can make smaller games like Grounded. They can move Call of Duty to a 2-year dev cycle, and they can focus on quality, because as long as they've got something to keep people subscribed to Game Pass every month in, month out, then that's all they really care about.
Yeah.
They don't really care about having a Call of Duty every single year, because they don't need it. They don't really care about some of this stuff. And I think it's going to be really good for the creative force of Blizzard, and hopefully we'll see a renaissance for Blizzard and they can get back to where they were. And
what do you hope? I was going to say, what do you specifically think Blizzard and World of Warcraft need to do to win back the players that they lost so significantly to Final Fantasy XIV? Obviously, they went in their thousands. As we've seen, there was a literal exodus.
Millions, probably. Yeah, there was a literal exodus over the summer. And, it's what triggered the exodus was bad writing, actually. The most recent expansion has had some truly awful writing and made characters do things that made no sense. And when it was revealed, the big plot twist of this expansion was revealed after like literally years of hype, everyone was just like, okay, Blizzard just doesn't care anymore. It's just apparent they don't care. So everyone just started going over Final Fantasy, because everyone heard that Final Fantasy XIV has a good story, and it has it has one of the best Final Fantasy stories of recent Final Fantasies, all of Final Fantasies. Like, Final Fantasy 15 story was a bit of a mess, and then we all know how much of a tragedy Final Fantasy 13 was. But somehow Final Fantasy 14, in amongst all this chaos, is this sort of quality product for a single player, which is really strange for an MMO. So I think Blizzard needs to World of Warcraft needs a lot of work, because it's become a messy game under Activision. Like, Activision does this thing where they want the retail sales, right? Activision do. So instead of like there's rumors now there's going to be a Warzone 2.
Yeah.
Which is dumb. It's dumb. Like, why make a Warzone 2? It's a service game. Just put the map in the game. Like, why? It's because they're trying to that's what they do. They're obsessed with sequels for some reason. Like, Destiny 2 doesn't need to exist. They could have just made Destiny 2 an expansion of Destiny 1.
Just expanded the first.
Yeah, which is Yeah, which is kind of what they're doing now anyway. Like a lot of the content in Destiny 2 has been like turned into legacy mode or something. I'm not fully or clued up on all that stuff, but Destiny 2 didn't need to exist, and that's why we don't have Destiny 3, is because Destiny 2 itself didn't need to exist. It was just Activision's mentality, you know. So when it comes to like World of Warcraft and some of their other games, like I hope they can focus less on like just making shallow sequels and make some like actual baseline changes to the game in a way that Final Fantasy 14 does. Like when Final Fantasy 14 gets an expansion, they don't delete all of the content from previous expansions, like the features and systems. They actually get new features. Those old systems get new features, like player housing. Like there was one expansion in WoW where they added some sort of player housing, like you build a base or whatever. And there's another expansion where you build a farm, and people love those features, you know, in varying degrees. Like people always complain about everything in WoW, but now like people look back on it and it's like, oh, that was actually a cool feature. They should have developed this more, but they didn't develop it more because they like their sequels and stuff. So all those features get abandoned. And if you look through World of Warcraft, it's sort of like this. It's this wasteland of abandoned content. Like you can literally just walk through the game. You can trace, like in modern World of Warcraft, you can go back like 13 or 14 years and look at all this abandoned content. Like it's like a museum to the old web. It's so weird. Like you can go to Outland in WoW, physically go there, and it's like there's all these like old memes there. It's like a museum. I might write an article about this actually. Like the graphics are bad too. Like you actually go to the old game and the graphics get worse, and the memes are old, and it's there's nothing like it in gaming really. But Final Fantasy 14 does it differently. They're like, we'll go back and update that old content and make the whole game good rather than just bolt on something to this 15-year-old game. So
yeah.
World of Warcraft needs a fundamentally different way of thinking. And I'm hoping that Mike Ibarra, who's a gamer himself and a massive World of Warcraft fan, he's not just a suit, he's a gamer. And he plays WoW and he loves WoW. I know he does because I spoke to him recently about it. I'm hoping Mike can right the ship and just be like, this is what you need to do. As a hardcore WoW player, this is what WoW needs to be. And I'm hoping Mike, with Microsoft, can get the funding and to get rid of this cost-cutting mentality, corner cutting, whatever, and do that not just for WoW, but all of the games. Like we've seen Overwatch basically be abandoned while they favor development of Overwatch 2. Another sequel that doesn't need to exist. Overwatch 2 doesn't need to exist. By their own admission, you know, because they say like Overwatch 1 players will be able to play with Overwatch 2 players. Well, why are you making a sequel then? You know, it doesn't need to exist. Activision just wanting to put a game on a shelf.
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean that
don't need sequels.
That was apparent as well, though, because from some of the reports that I've seen was it specifically surrounding the last kind of updates that did come out for a while. The last expansion was that the devs didn't like what it was and they didn't want to put it out because they thought it was shit themselves. They thought the stories were crap, but above them wanted it to go out because of shareholders. They wanted this half-finished, half-baked story and expansion to go out into the WoW world. And obviously what you ended up seeing in the end was that exodus was because of the poor writing, the poor storytelling, and just generally a poor expansion. Like really kind of killed off the game in general. So I mean, going forward, it is just about rejuvenating that story, potentially getting the best writers back onto it again, giving them time to write something interesting and get the characters developed again. But do you think
I think part of it is rushing.
Yeah.
You know, I think part of it is like they're just like they write it out and then nobody's really checking to make sure that it makes sense. Like I do it myself. Like I wrote like a bunch of articles during the busy period last quarter, and I was like, man, I wish I'd done this differently. Like, because like when you're busy and there's no one checking it, and there's you know, crap can go out, you know, and we see it happen in Warcraft a lot, you know, because they are trying to get the patches out because they do want to keep people subscribed and they are overworked, you know. I didn't want to come across as harsh about the writing, but You know, I blame Activision. You know. For
Oh
not
yeah, and I think the
giving them
writers do as well
resources
because,
to actually,
like I say, the writers
Yeah.
themselves, by their own admission, didn't like what was going out. They knew it wasn't finished. They knew it wasn't ready. But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
churn around by Activision internally for all the studios was just get it done, get it out. It wasn't. There was no due care and attention. They didn't care. They just wanted to appease shareholders and get show things that were going out. I mean, that doesn't. If it doesn't turn a profit and it doesn't work and it's not liked, that's not a win for shareholders in my eyes. If I'm a shareholder and I'm sitting there and the actual public reaction to this is shit, that isn't a win. I'm like, well, this isn't helping us because in the long run, the short run, I might make a tiny little blip, but in the long run, this is just gonna all of my possible profits are negated.
Well, this is the problem with publicly traded game publishers, is that they live quarter to quarter.
Yeah.
They don't think about the long term enough, in my view.
Yeah.
We see this constantly with devs like Take-Two and EA and Activision, and they sort of lurch and lumber between like pissing off the fans, short-term thinking, and then realizing going too far and making a mistake, and then sort of coming back the other way. Like it's no mystery that EA announced 3 Star Wars games under Respawn this week, because they're doing that because they're panicking over Battlefield, and they're like, yeah, we need a distraction from this garbage fire that is Battlefield 2042.
Yeah.
Here's 3 Star Wars games made from a proven dev who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
But
Here's
EA
the
made
last
DICE
one
the way
left
it is.
that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because we can't buy away.
Battlefield 2042.
Yeah.
Battlefield 2042 has shareholder mentality all over it. The maps are clearly designed to be a battle royale game. They're flat, circular, with a thing specifically in the middle. And there's all these rumors that Battlefield 42 was supposedly developed first as a battle royale, and they pivoted at the last second because they knew it was going to be a crap show like that dumb fire mode, wherever it was called in Battlefield 5 that nobody played.
Yeah.
And they pivoted away from battle royale, and then those operators, the operators in Battlefield 2042, they only exist so they can sell them as skins and stuff, sell skin packs and sell characters and have a battle pass attachment. Nobody wanted this for Battlefield.
No.
Nobody asked for this. It's all about them trying to generate interest for shareholders, because they think like these are things that will make us money. They don't think like this is what Battlefield fans want. And Battlefield fans have sat up and rejected this crap resoundingly, because Battlefield fans are passionate people, you know, and they play Battlefield because it's not Call of Duty, you know. And I think EA is just spectacularly great at pissing everyone off.
It's a bit of the same story with Titanfall, that they attacked the Apex stuff.
Yeah, you know, we've seen them abandon Titanfall like crazy, you know, and now EA is sort of like, they are balancing the whole company on Respawn in hopes of, you know, fixing some of their game releases, when all they needed to do was make a good game.
Yeah, give them time. But they're another company, much like Activision, that want to do the churn out of yearly releases. They're so used to doing the built on the sports franchises and the yearly release sports franchises and making the millions from them and the billions from them. They just think, oh, every game can do this, so we're just going to do it with every game, instead of like taking a sit back and going, like, you don't have to release your shooter every year. You can take a minute.
It's the whole thinking quarterly mentality. You know, it's thinking like, this is what we need to do to deliver for shareholders this quarter to create dividends or whatever. It's that whole mentality, and it's really toxic for gaming, that mentality, because games do have to be delayed sometimes, and thinking about engagement and stuff like that, it stifles creativity, and it leads to games that don't need certain features having certain features to the detriment of the game, which is Battlefield is a great example of that. Battlefield didn't need to have operators, and it shouldn't have been a battle royale game.
Yeah.
And EA realized it shouldn't have been a battle royale game, but it was too late because they'd made a battle royale game, and now the regular ground war combat just feels a bit weird and janky in Battlefield now. So I don't know. But that's why I'm glad Microsoft's buying Activision, because it means that they won't be at the mercy of shareholders and that quarterly mentality thinking. Because as a platform holder, the only metric Microsoft cares about is quarterly growth for Game Pass. And to grow Game Pass, all you need is quality games.
Yep.
You don't need battle passes. You don't need FIFA Ultimate Team. All you need is quality games. And niche games too. You need to cater for every niche. You need racing games. You need simulator games, strategy games, platform games. You need every damn niche covered. And that's why I think Game Pass is a force for not only for value, but also creativity. And we've seen it time and time again this year.
Yeah.
Psychonauts. Can you see Activision making a game like Psychonauts?
Definitely
Can you
not.
see shareholders? Would shareholders be excited about a game like Psychonauts? Of course not. I'm not going to be excited about a game like that. Single player, no microtransactions, no battle pass. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
So
after the annual results from Microsoft today, maybe they are now.
Yeah, maybe. But that's the thing though. Like Microsoft doesn't in their shareholder thing. That's the thing though. Microsoft has a different perspective on it, because in their shareholder quarterly earnings, they don't talk about the performance of individual games because they don't have to. What they talk about is the sales from third-party games, so your Fortnites and your Warzones, whatever. And then hardware sales, which Activision can't have because they don't have their own console. And then subscriptions and services, which again, Activision only have in terms of World of Warcraft. So, you know, as a platform holder, Microsoft has obviously a position of strength that a lot of the publishers don't have when it comes to creativity and stuff. But it's a changing landscape, and that's why I think a lot of these publishers are getting absorbed, is because they can't reconcile shareholder greed with actually making a good game. They don't know how to balance that anymore. And in an era where we demand perpetual unsustainable growth, it's you know, it becomes a debate about the philosophies of capitalism, which is very boring and long-winded. So let's not go there. But
we can do that.
We'll be here all night, mate. Maybe not, but what's important at the end of the day is, what's important is value for gamers and a good working environment for devs. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Like, fuck the rich people, fuck the billionaires and the millionaires and the shareholder and the venture capital firms and the equity firms and the banks. Fuck those guys, man. All that matters is the gamers and the devs. And hopefully under Microsoft we'll see better working environment for devs and better value for gamers.
You know,
we can only hope, right?
One of the better things about that, and only expanding the Xbox Game Studios kind of group, as it were, is the release windows specifically into Game Pass, or even if you break them down into year, now having the best part of what would be 50 internal teams upon close of Activision, with God knows how many different titles and IPs they can expand upon in projects. Is Microsoft are now afforded their own ability to take a step back and just, if something's ready, release it. If it's not ready, don't worry. We've got so many more games we can release over this particular quarter, because we have 50 different development teams creating games. So you're not going to release 50 games in a year, which means if a game isn't ready and you've still got another 10 that could release in that calendar year, then you've got 10 games to release, and you can just shift around. And you say, okay, well, this one's not quite ready, so we don't have to force this one out this year. This one isn't quite ready. Give them a little bit more time. This one's looking like it's actually quite ready. We can put this here. They've afforded themselves the space, the breathing space for all of their internal companies to have a little bit more time, take a step back, and then just be able to have that flexibility. If something isn't ready, you can push it back and not worry about it. If something is ready, great. There you go. Release it.
That's the thing. Microsoft has shown it will delay a game for a whole year if it means better quality.
The biggest title of
Halo
if anything, the biggest IP.
Halo Infinite was supposed to launch the console, and they delayed it for a whole year. You know, I think that's a great, you know, even though Halo Infinite is still shipped with missing features like co-op and stuff. It's still, and you know, I'm not a huge fan of Halo Infinite's story either, but it sounds like that game was in a development hell to some degree, and Microsoft sort of, you know, good on them for getting it out in the condition that it did get out in. It was relatively well received, I think, like 85 on Meta, something around there.
Yeah.
And Activision wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have delayed a Call of Duty for a whole year. They get them out by hook or by crook. I mean, we've seen them, Activision, one year cut out the campaign from one of the Call of Duties, didn't they? Completely, because it was not ready. Because they need that quarterly report. It's bullshit, and it stifles creativity and creates this pressure on devs that shouldn't exist, you know. So when people decry market consolidation as being bad, I just sit in there like, is it actually bad? Is it actually bad?
Yeah.
Because the evidence suggests to me that it's not so bad after all, you know. Maybe there is a dystopia where like Microsoft owns everything and there's no competition left. But at that point it becomes like, you know, the government's job is to have a monopoly on violence.
Yeah.
You know. And because they've got the police and the law and the army and stuff, and they have a monopoly on violence, and it's their job to ensure the competition of capitalism is, you know, thriving and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think like what we have here is anything
close to that,
close to approaching a monopoly.
No.
And Microsoft has shown itself to have a strong social conscience in an era where a lot of tech companies just don't. So,
100%.
I'm not seeing the evidence for market consolidation being bad at this point, but
it's not. And I think you're right as well. I think you're right. It isn't as bad as people are making it out to be, but at the same time, the only thing you've got to do, and if you are concerned about a particular company and their ethos, is you just go to you actually look into a particular. If you're concerned about the likes of Tencent or Embracer Group or Microsoft, these people that are consolidating as far as people are concerned, and have a look at their ethos and the way they're doing things and what their plans are going forwards and how they treat their studios or plans to studios who they've acquired, or read the things from studios once they've been acquired to say what they think of the moving forward plans from that particular company. Then you can build a bigger picture. Then you can say, no, I've read loads of these things and this is their thing and I don't agree with how they're going to do this. That's a different thing. But in terms of what it does for the wider community, for the consumer, it's not going to make it terrible for the consumer. Like, the whole point in capitalism is for the big companies to make loads of money and generate more money and then feed it back into the economy, and then the economy buys loads of stuff, which then cycles it through and so on and so forth. It's a big churning wheel, and they want that to just keep going as much as they can. So to be able to do that, they need these big companies with lots of money to invest and buy up things and further expand. And the gaming sector is the biggest entertainment medium in the world. Without shadow of a doubt, it's much bigger than movies and TV. It's far bigger than music. Right now, it is the biggest thing in entertainment, which is why we're seeing so much investment in it. Microsoft wouldn't have forked out the best part of 100 billion over the last 3-4 years in gaming if they weren't convinced that it was a worthwhile investment.
Well, they've been on the record of they describe when Phil came to the company, and this is how you know that Phil's a straight shooter and he's consistent and he doesn't lie, is because when he first became the leader of Xbox, he said, what we see Xbox as doing for Microsoft is what music did for Apple. It's about driving positive sentiment for the Microsoft brand, you know.
Yeah.
Like, Apple had music and iTunes and its music celebrities and blah, 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 blah. And Apple doesn't really do the gaming stuff, and it doesn't really do the TV stuff to the same extent that it does it gets involved with the music stuff. Like, it's got Beats audio and it's got its Apple Music and stuff like that. And it has like its exclusive album launches sometimes and stuff like that. Because that's Apple's driver of positive sentiment. It's like the quality of its hardware, but also like the cultural units of music that it generates through like its like iPods and stuff like that from back in the day, before the era of smartphones and stuff like that. So that's a lot of the value that Microsoft puts on gaming and its gaming division, is the sentiment it gets from it. but it can't drive positive sentiment and getting value from that sentiment if it's pissing everyone off.
Yeah.
Like EA and Activision don't really think about it so much because they have a short-term thinking mentality, and it's like, you know, they don't want to. They all they care about is the money. You know, they have to manage sentiment to some degree. You know, EA is the most hated company in America, and it won that award like for several years running, which hasn't been great for its image. You know, and you have to wonder like how much more money would EA possibly be making if they did have more of a long-term thinking process about some of this stuff, and you know, did think about the way their company's perceived. But for Microsoft, for them, it's like a lot of the value we get out of this, and they've set up and said it, and they said it last week as well. A lot of the value we see from this is driving a halo effect, you know, pun intended, driving a halo effect over the image of the company, you know, by giving people something fun to do after battering them all day with Excel spreadsheets and Microsoft Teams meetings and stuff like that, you know. It's funny, you know, because they used to say Xbox
that's a nice way
was...
of thinking about this. I was always on the page is Microsoft doesn't spend $70 billion and I don't know about 20 billion or whatnot over the last 3-4 years. If they didn't have a plan to make that actually back, they didn't become this $1 trillion company by just branching out in new things. They have a certain business plan behind it, and they have a plan, and they see gaming as the only entertainment medium that has actually potential to grow, because the music market and the movie TV sector is basically kind of saturated. To gain actual growth of that market is really not possible. But gaming is the entertainment medium that has potential to grow, and that's why they have spoken so many times about them trying to reach 3 billion gamers. They want to turn those casual gaming market, those casual gamers that play mobile games like Candy Crush, yeah, they want to turn them into Xbox Gamepass subscribers.
All Windows Phone with achievements.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that is their. I was also on the mindset there because that is their main focus. Yeah, how to grow the business, how to grow the gaming entertainment platform. And you can tell by everything they've been doing that this is their end goal. I mean, you see their effort that they do with xCloud, and they are not just doing that we Game Pass or Xbox diehard fans can play our Gears of War on the go. It's because they have the potential to bring now games to a consumer market, to a customer group that is not willing to invest like $500 or $300 depending on the choice of console. Yeah, that is just simply more casual. And then there's of course growth in markets that are mobile first markets. There are tons of Asia, especially in the Asian region. Yeah, we have mobile first markets. They play everything on their phones. And this is basically their strategy. They see a potential growth. They don't see that in music or TV. That's why they never try to go into those markets. But here is a like I said, a market that they can grow
significantly. It's a market that's still, like you say, it's relatively untapped for the vast majority of it as well, because there's so many more new people and new things to do. So many more new avenues to explore, new people to get into gaming, new markets, as you mentioned before, the mobile market with Candy Crush, etc. Even if you put Candy Crush or a version of Candy Crush into Game Pass, where somebody didn't have to buy a consistent, didn't have to buy their lives or whatever it is, the power ups to get energy to be able to play the game. You could just play the game for as long as you want, and if you wanted to get gems or pay for purchases on gems, then that is the microtransaction aspect of it. But for people who love Candy Crush, and there's 250 million active users a week on that game.
Hello, Mom.
Jesus wept. For the 250 million that are playing that, if they see, all right, I don't have to buy like my energy things for like, if I don't have to pay like £5 a week for energy, I can just buy £10 and that's Game Pass, and I get everything plus all these other games. I'll just do that. It saves me £5 a week. It's just the.
I do know that.
Yeah.
I do know that Microsoft has been exploring like, because Microsoft has a casual games team. People don't talk about it much, but Solitaire is one of the biggest games in the world.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
There's not any like. Solitaire doesn't do the dirty tactics that Candy Crush does, where it's like you can only play, you have to pay a microtransaction if you want to play more now. There is ads, I think, and there is like a premium subscription which removes the ads, but they don't like force you to pay money to keep playing the game. There's no like time gating or paywall or whatever. And I think like Microsoft would get a lot of subscribers if they put Solitaire and Candy Crush and other King games, because they got a bunch of those mobile games with the time gated microtransaction. They put all those games in Game Pass, they'd gain millions of extra subscribers, I think.
Yeah.
And the possibility of onboarding the casual gamers into core gamers is something that I really think the industry needs to look at as well. Because like, I don't know if any of you guys have tried to like get a girlfriend or something who doesn't play games into games.
I tried it multiple times with my wife. I failed for the last 12 years. So
yeah. Oh, it's hard, you know. Like if you haven't grown, yeah.
My wife plays my most hated game, Ark.
Oh.
Yeah, well, all my wife plays is stuff like Candy Crush. Yeah.
But it's like if you haven't grown up with the sort of hand-eye coordination you need, and like my girlfriend, like she's getting better at it, and she's over there and she's frowning at me right now. But she like when like the operation between two joysticks of like moving the camera and moving the character at the same time with two different joysticks, that doesn't come naturally.
No,
you have
it
to
doesn't.
sort of learn that a bit.
I see that especially with my kids. Yeah, I have two kids that I try to get into gaming right now, and I really we see that they have a real problem of imagining the movement of a camera. They can't imagine, okay, I press the stick in this direction and my character walks in that direction. That is something that they're really good at. But moving a camera around a character is really, really hard for them.
But Paw Patrol explains that. I don't know if you noticed that, but Paw Patrol really explains
Paw Patrol has a fixed camera angle. That's why it's their go-to game. When they play something like Mario Odyssey or something, where they actually have to move the camera around, it's significantly harder for them.
It's the same here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have kids myself, but I still going back many years though, many years ago, when Crash Team Racing first came out on the PlayStation 1, and I remember my mother, of all people, deciding she wanted to try and play the game. Jesus wept. That was hilarity. It was just about 10 minutes of her driving into walls and not doing anything other than that because she didn't know how to reverse. When I was telling her how to reverse, she was just, they have the thing where they have to look at the controller. They can't look at the screen and use the controller. They have to look at the controller or look at the screen. Like, what is going on? And that, you're right, Jez. It's getting people used to this hand-eye coordination thing.
Dude, I remember like when the PlayStation 1 came out, the controller it came with had no joysticks. The first I don't know how old you guys are, but the first PlayStation 1 had no joysticks.
Yeah, just the D-pad.
Way before the PlayStation came out.
Yeah.
So
36 years.
Yeah, so
you youngling. Our youngling in the room here.
But I remember when I think it was the SOCOM was the first game I played that had a dual joystick operation. And I've been playing, up until that point, I've been playing like Final Fantasy and Resident Evil, which had like a fixed camera perspective, and you could control the whole game with a D-pad. Like played Resident Evil without joysticks. Yeah. It's weird now thinking about it. Yeah. Back then, you had to play that game with a D-pad, and you know, Street Fighter and stuff like that. You didn't need a joystick for any of these games. And then SOCOM came out, and it was like, oh yeah, you move the camera with this stick. And I was just like, what the hell? This game's broken. I actually returned it. I returned it to the shop because I was like, "How the hell do you control this? It's so weird." I was like 10 or 11 or something, and I was just like, I can't play this game because it's so weird. I can't remember what game it was where I think it might have been Silent Hill or something like that. But I think even that I played with the D-pad. Come to think of it, obviously I got the groups with it eventually. I can't even remember what game it clicked for me, but I do remember SOCOM not being able to get dual joystick operation. There needs to be like, I really do think there needs to be an effort from game, like, because all game platforms, they're all thinking like, oh, we know how to play games, so it doesn't matter. But I do think that dual joystick operation is a huge barrier for the industry that a lot of people take for granted. There needs to be a game that teaches people how to play a game, you know. And a lot of games have a tutorial, but there needs to be a game that sort of goes through the basic mechanics of like regular games and like can onboard someone from a Candy Crush player to a core game player, you know, because I think there's an opportunity there that's being missed, but I don't know. It's another discussion, I guess.
I completely agree. That's the avenue I think Microsoft are going to anyway. They are trying to get the casuals into more of a core gamer, or potentially just get them into a mixture, like a hybrid. They don't want them to permanently just be like a core gamer. They just want to have them to try new things and get into the ecosystem for the first time. And obviously the other method that they've got now is that you don't need a brand new console to go and do it. If you can only afford like a second-hand one, or if your family's got an old Xbox, like cloud gaming is there. Like you can play these games via stream thanks to Game Pass. You can stream them on the old console, so you don't miss out on the new stuff. So it's bringing people in from all avenues, or even on your PC, on your phone, whatever it is. Just allowing people to try new things. That's the real benefit of Game Pass overall. It's awesome. I think this is kind of blended into the next one, kind of another topic that we had there, and that was kind of the state of Xbox going forward, and the state of Xbox as it stands. And I think overall, in my opinion, the state of Xbox, the way that they look at the company now, as you mentioned as well in the shareholder thing, they didn't bat an eyelid at the takeover at all. They didn't ask about it. They didn't care. It's not like they just spent 70 billion, but they just don't. It's as if it is nothing, as if it just didn't. And none of them, as we thought, none of them have any concerns of that going through. None of them presented that particular question. Is there anything that could prevent this merger from happening? None of them asked these questions. And I think if they were concerned, as specifically large investment firms that are invested in Microsoft, I think they would have potentially posed those questions. But the state of the company as it is going forward, I think, and I've said this before, obviously the investment by and the trust from Satya Nadella and the rest of the board that they have in Phil and his vision, and obviously now taking that vision on themselves for Xbox going forward is massive. I think Phil himself knows that he's probably put a target on his head that this has to work. It is a large investment. That's a lot of trust that Satya and all of the people that have invested in Microsoft have put into that. Obviously, investing 90 to 100 billion in just the gaming avenue is a lot, even for a $2.3 trillion company. But they trust him. I think Phil himself knows as well that it has to work, so his vision needs to continue going forwards. How would you see, or how do you kind of foresee, should we say, the state of Xbox in 2023, 24 and onwards? What do you think their next plans will be? Not just the Game Pass avenue, but how do you see them kind of progressing beyond this? What do you think they would kind of shoot for next?
Well, it begs the question, doesn't it? I mean, in the short term, they've got to get this Activision deal done, because I think in the part of the deal, if something stops the deal from happening, Microsoft just has to give Activision $3 billion just for their trouble.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yes. Yeah.
So like, even if the deal fails, they have to give Activision $3 billion for no reason, which is not what you want to be doing. That is bad business. So Microsoft has the best acquisition lawyers in the world. They know how to navigate American politics to get these sorts of deals done, and they're seen as an ally in American antitrust litigation against Apple, Facebook, and Microsoft was called as a witness in the Epic versus Apple trial, for example, because they see Microsoft as a sort of like a technological ally of the government. They provide cloud for the government. They provide technology for the military.
Yeah.
They are to the US government what Tencent is to the Chinese Communist Party, or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
So they are seen as an ally, but also like Microsoft is delivering a huge amount of value for investors, offering double the share price, even higher than where Activision was at its peak. So they're providing a profit for shareholders, which is the whole point of capitalism. So I can't see them blocking this, because if they block this, they're blocking capitalism basically. And American politicians love their capitalism. I mean, if you look at the net worth of politicians in America, it's very strange how they all go from like having a net worth of nothing to a net worth of millions in a few short years. Something to do with insider trading on the stock market, I would say. So they would be pretty hypocritical to block this, I would say.
Oh,
but anyway, that's again another discussion.
Yeah.
Where's Xbox going to be in 2022, 2023, 2024? I think
hope the game's gone.
Yeah, hopefully. But pandemic being what it is, a lot of the emphasis on this deal has been put on Sony versus Xbox or PlayStation versus Xbox, but it's really not. It's about Tencent, man. This deal is 100% about Tencent, stopping Tencent getting Blizzard. Tencent is the sort of like Tencent is Microsoft's nemesis. And most people don't even know about Tencent. They haven't even heard of Tencent. They don't know that Tencent owns half of Fortnite. They don't know that Tencent owns the Unreal Engine. They don't know that Tencent owns League of Legends or Valorant and Riot and Arcane on Netflix and all this stuff. They don't realize Tencent does this because Tencent operates in the shadows, because they don't want to be associated with these properties, because everyone knows they're associated with the Chinese government, who is currently committing genocide.
Yes.
So they don't like to have that association, because it's not genocide's not the best marketing strapline, I would say. But anyway, again, another discussion. But that's what this is about, is Tencent. It's about engagement. It's about sort of stopping Tencent from getting Blizzard, because Tencent basically with Riot started to build the anti-Blizzard. Like Riot's been poaching Blizzard staff left, right, and center. Like it's no sort of mystery that Blizzard's like Riot's games art kind of looks like how Blizzard's art used to look. It's because they stole all their artists, kind of thing, and stuff like that. So Microsoft, I really believe part of the reason Microsoft's doing this is for the health of the industry. They actually want to stop Tencent from getting Blizzard, and they want to stop a situation where Tencent gradually extends its tendrils across the whole industry and then builds its own console, because they could do that. Valorant's never come to console because Tencent knows that it doesn't need console to be the biggest company. In fact, League of Legends has never come to console either. It's a testament to how unimportant the console industry actually is. So this is nothing. Honestly, I don't think this deal has anything to do with PlayStation. It's all to do with
nothing.
Tencent.
Absolutely nothing to do with PlayStation.
Yeah. No, it's really not.
And I mean,
like
if we go back years and years and years ago, like you've got to realize the original reason PlayStation entered the fray, as it were, was the deal that they had with Nintendo that they backed out of, and then did the dirty on Nintendo and create their own console. So they went to then directly compete against them, and then try to put them essentially out of business by directly competing against them and making their own thing. Microsoft then in turn, with the PlayStation 2, saying that they wanted to essentially get into the as we've seen, if you haven't watched the documentary and if you don't know about it, PlayStation essentially was saying, we are the brand new PC. You won't need a PC anymore because we're going to do that, and we're going to get into the home living room, and we're going to be like the only thing you need. Microsoft, of course, being the PC guys at the time, were just like, no, we literally can't let them get into the living room and claim to be the most powerful thing in the living room. Like, it can't happen. So we're going to get into gaming. We need to shut that down, shut that message down. And of course, now what we're seeing is just another version of that on a grander scale. You've got these big tech companies, these big expansive tech companies or groups trying to expand into territories that really some people don't want them in. And Microsoft have said themselves specifically that they don't want Nintendo and PlayStation to go anywhere. What they do want, essentially, they want the big three to be the people that stay around. They do not want the other lot to get into it, because the other lot is what Microsoft are trying to shield the original three from, as it were. It's a weird shield. It's like, we're going to absorb these to make sure that these guys don't get it, because if these guys get it, who knows what is going to happen for these studios going forward, or what avenues they're going to pursue. Because we know all we're going to do is just allow these to create the games that they want to create and put them into services that are going to allow more people to play these games overall. However, putting that on in Tencent, like as you mentioned, people don't really want to invest in Tencent because they're involved in a country which is obviously it's part owned, isn't it? It is part owned by government, isn't it, Tencent? Yeah,
I think so.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's invested, part owned by the government as well. So they don't want to get involved in that because of obviously the political reasons behind it. And Embrace as a different kettle of fish altogether. They have a lot of studios. Their ethos.
A lot of bad studios.
Yeah. Yeah. They haven't got loads of great
one.
studios. Yeah, they haven't got loads of great studios.
There's some good ones, but
yeah.
it's oh man, it's complicated. Yeah.
It is very complicated. But I mean, do you see them going and trying anything new in technology wise? I mean, what we have seen, obviously, with the acquisition of Activision for one of them, is the potential revival of Guitar Hero, a big fan favorite. Obviously, they intentionally mentioned that when they acquired Activision Blizzard, they want to bring back old IPs, and name dropped StarCraft, name dropped Guitar Hero, name dropped Tony Hawk's. They mentioned these franchises because these are franchises that everybody remembers and loved, and then were just abandoned. And can you see them kind of bringing back the classic Guitar Hero and bringing out these guitar peripherals as we did, or potentially even on PC, mixing that with the likes of AR, VR, MR, and all of these different things? Is that something that the panel can see? Boxenberger, Shomberlon, what do you foresee? Do you foresee them bringing back these things going forward and getting into more peripherals for some of these games?
It's a good question. I talked about that on another podcast the other day. I think that it was a certain time. We had the Wii on the Nintendo side during the high time of Guitar Hero and so on, and these kind of weird peripherals where you actually jump around in front of your TV doing stuff with special controllers and stuff. Was a certain time, and I don't know whether they bring that back this way. I could more see it go in a VR kind of thing where they revive that with the combination of Guitar Hero. But I think these weird controllers, these movement controllers and so on, are probably gone. Could it be a fan favorite service, kind of like a revival for that? Definitely, of course. It remains to be seen. I've seen a lot of speculation out there about people wanting to get all kinds of IPs revived. If you listen to some podcasts, they kind of need to revive like 30 different IPs, and I don't think that is going to happen.
No, right there.
The criminal thing about the way how Activision and Blizzard behaved over the last couple of years is that they let so many fan IPs rest or die. You have the likes of StarCraft, you have the likes of like Tony Hawk and actual Warcraft game, stuff like that. Guitar Hero, of course, also. They simply didn't do anything with these kind of IPs. So if they will revive them. I think a couple of them will be revived. I think Phil spoke about that. Aaron Greenberg mentioned something like that they would love to see some of the classic IPs to come back. I don't think that we get like dozens and dozens of old IPs revived. There will be a handful, 5 max, that they will give the chance to prototype again, and then greenlight it eventually. But I don't think that we see that many, and I don't know whether Guitar Hero will fall into that into those very few selected IPs that they are going to revive.
So yeah, I think the only reason I would disagree with you there is because I don't think they would mention that as something within the same sentence as we're going to revive IPs, like famed franchises such as Guitar Hero, etc. I don't think they would have he would have mentioned that specifically if he wasn't thinking this is one of the IPs that I want to explore again. I can understand, as you said, if they're not going to bring back every IP, but obviously they're going to explore a lot of that. But I think the benefit here, though, is that the IP is there, and should years and years down the line someone want to revive one of those IPs and go to Microsoft and say, listen, we want to do a Pitfall, or we want to recreate Pitfall, a modern day Pitfall, they can do that. Obviously they've got the IP there, they can look to do something like that. In terms of the good old classic like rock band peripherals, the drum sets and the guitars, do you see them bringing those back brand new? Do you see the classic guitar controller coming back, making its welcome return?
To whom did you
anyone that wants to answer this?
Well,
I think personally that Microsoft, I agree with you that Microsoft wouldn't have name checked these things if they didn't have some intention for them. They name check Skylanders and they name check Guitar Hero. Activision owned patents against guitar peripherals, I believe. So hilariously, Activision's one of the only companies who can do this kind of stuff, I think.
Wow.
I know there's rock band and stuff, but I think that they will bring some of this stuff back. I really do think they will, because Microsoft wants to cater to every niche and they do want to drive positive sentiment. And they probably do see an opportunity where it's like, we can put a music subscription in Game Pass, maybe. Like Microsoft had a music subscription before, know, and as a third party or fifth party.
I mean, they're consistently doing Spotify subscriptions as well, though. Like consistently, like as a perk, they're giving you these things all the time. And I can see, because of, if you have a look at Spotify's negative turnover as well as Netflix's negative turnover, they could probably do with that particular cash injection that Game Pass is getting. And if you're saying if we're going to tie this into this,
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft buys Spotify at some point. I got this weird feeling that one day Microsoft might buy Spotify. I got this weird feeling. I've had this for a while, so like we'll see how that pans out. If that happens, you heard it here first. But I don't know.
They're close to Nokia, so who knows?
You know what I was saying? You know what I was saying as well, though, when people the other day, because obviously everyone knows Microsoft have got this amount of cash that they have to spend before the end of the tax year. Or, of course, because if it's sitting in the bank, then it's losing money. It's not gaining. It's not doing anything but losing money. They have to invest it in something. And one of the companies that I thought specifically was a company like HTC. Now, if you've got 60 billion sitting around with a market value of HTC of 58 billion, and HTC, on one hand, for yourself, HTC make semi-decent phones, so you could then get your...
They don't make phones anymore.
Do they not?
They don't make them.
They stopped. They stopped them as well. Jesus, where have I been living?
They don't make phones anymore.
You're behind, Drew.
Where have I been living? I thought I could have sworn.
I reckon they could get Spotify for about 17, 18 billion, I think.
Yeah.
And then they could have some sort of Spotify Guitar Hero thing, got like AI generated tracks or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's pie in the sky.
Now I really want them to bring it back.
But Jez, if you bring Kinect 3.0, right? You can play air guitar, air drums, and stuff like that. We can bring back Kinect with it. It's not like you have to
I think
use
so.
the
Yeah.
peripheral. You can just use you can bring out a new Kinect.
There actually is a Kinect 3, believe it or not. It's called Azure Kinect, and it's designed for like ad installations and stuff like that. Azure, like it's a business thing now. But the Azure Kinect actually does have the fidelity to track finger movements, and it's way more powerful and probably actually would be a pretty good gaming device. So who knows, man? Maybe they do like they just be
Then
like, we'll Guitar Hero with Kinect and bring it back and. There's all sorts of crazy shit Microsoft could do, man.
No, it is. I mean, the one thing about Microsoft though is that they look at certain avenues. We're seeing this with the Kinect originally, and VR as well, specifically at the minute. They're looking at these avenues and they're thinking, what is the true growth for these particular items? Like, what is the true growth for VR? For them, they don't see VR as a growth. What they look at is the MR, the mixed reality, or AR, the augmented reality, or a mixture of both. They're not really looking at the VR specific for them. They've got partnerships with AR and MR headset designers and creators, manufacturers. Going forward as well, I don't know whether or not they would look at another, like you say, you've got HoloLens, which is like really high end, really fat, like $5,000 headset, which is awesome for AR. And obviously now it's a military thing as well, so there's like 250,000 military HoloLens floating around out there. But they're looking at these avenues and thinking, PlayStation have invested all this money in this. Like, it did sufficiently well, sold, 5 million headsets or something, maybe, for PlayStation. But that was as a separate unit versus 120 million platform users. Now, if you've got 120 million of your actual platform users that are required to then get this headset for it to work, you have to have it to work. Whereas then Oculus are looking at Quest 2, and you don't have to have anything for Quest 2 to work other than be signed into the ether and the hell that is Facebook. Outside of that, the issue that Microsoft have is that, we don't. Again, it's the investment. Is somebody going to want to invest 500? Is it going to be worth the cost implementation, the R&D? Is it going to be worth all of this for us to put out a unit and it sells 1 million? And just 1 million people play these games, and we spend all of these hundreds of millions of pounds creating it and doing the R&D and manufacturing and shipping and everything that goes along with it and developing games for it. Is that going to be worth it in the long run? Is there a sustainability in this and an upward trajectory in this particular market to invest in it going forwards? And even though VR is doing really well right now, Microsoft are always looking forward. They're not looking at the here and now. Is it going to be is it going to really take off as much as people are hoping VR is going to take off? It's an enjoyable experience, but is it the perfect product? It isn't. The only thing that I've seen in recent times that looks remotely like what VR should be is, and Jez, you'll follow him too, but Asa from Game On Daily, who has the 360 walking thing that goes along with the VR headset. That is what I would class as a proper VR experience, because you're running around like on the like.
Oh, I see the stream,
yeah, and actually getting involved with this virtual reality, not just like holding the controller and like making yourself walk forward on the controller and then doing the actions. Like, that's not really, that breaks the immersion. So I think if Microsoft were to invest in it, they would want to do it so that it was immersive, truly. But then it's, do you foresee them ever getting involved in that? Because it's people, so the small minority of people really want them to. But
he's already shaking.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think
there are
they'll ever
some
take
games
that
that have made tens of millions of dollars in VR? There are some games like Beat Saber's made a lot of money.
Yep.
Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners have made a lot of money. But like, it's a very small market. There's only like a dozen games that have like really made decent money, which is not what you want really. A dozen games have made decent money, and like the rest are just sort of left to die. A lot of VR games are just bad. They're badly designed, and then they're not designed with like motion sickness, accounting for motion sickness, stuff like that.
Yeah.
VR is a very fatiguing experience. Like, it has its functions. Like Beat Saber is a great experience if you want to burn some calories. But more often than not, I don't want to burn calories on playing game. I want to zombie out on the couch or in bed or something, or you know, chill in my chair. It's not a chill experience, VR. It's not a chill. It's a different experience.
Yeah.
So I think like VR has a place in the ecosystem, much like, you know, flight simulator equipment as a place, and you know, racing simulation equipment has a place. But I don't think it's going to be the de facto way we play games, which is why it's just hilarious to me watching Facebook waste all its money on this, rebranding its whole company, thinking like, oh, everyone's going to want to slap this on their face. No, they're not.
Yeah.
You're mad. You are mad. Facebook, you are mental. Yeah. Yeah, metaverse. You'll notice every time Microsoft talks about the metaverse, they're never mentioning VR. It's because Microsoft is trying to change the definition of metaverse to mean any virtual world, whether it's sort of like in VR or not. So Facebook really wants the metaverse to be a VR thing, but Microsoft is very sneakily being like, you know what? Minecraft's a metaverse, and yeah, it has a VR mode, but actually a metaverse is something that can be played on any device, which flies in the face of what Facebook wants the metaverse to be, which I think is hilarious. Because that every single time Satya speaks lately, he is undermining the definition of metaverse by decoupling it from VR, which I think is just great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You know, I imagine Mark Zuckerberg sitting there thinking, Minecraft is not a metaverse. It's not. And Satya's like, yeah, all this shit. Forza's a metaverse.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sure they think of Forza being a metaverse.
Yeah.
What
Microsoft see a metaverse, to them, their metaverse is the live system connected, the connected live system of Microsoft of Xbox on everything.
Microsoft actually defined this years ago, and they used to call it the intelligent edge. And what the intelligent edge is like the cloud in the middle, and then all the devices you use to access those cloud services, whether the cloud service is an online game or your OneDrive or your Office or your documents or your tax returns or whatever. The intelligent edge is the diaspora of devices you use to access that. So to them, that's the metaverse. The metaverse to them is the cloud. You know, and Microsoft's trying to redefine that away from Meta's bullshit description of it, which is like, you have to slap one of our devices on your face to access the metaverse. No.
Yeah. It's
Microsoft is like, you can access the metaverse on any device.
Yeah, they connect online. That's exactly what it is, and to them as well. And I've seen it even recently, and to me, I'm subscribed to the highest tier of OneDrive, and OneDrive's amazing for one particular thing, is that it can act as well, specifically if you're getting a brand new, if you're always getting like a brand new laptop, if you're upgrading your laptops or PCs quite frequently, OneDrive can become extremely useful in the fact that you can just have your desktop in your OneDrive and not have to worry about it like losing anything or migrating anything or having to bring things onto hard drives and things when you're leaving. Or again, obviously content creators, we have hard drives anyway, so you just plug in the stuff and all the important stuff you've created goes on hard drives. So then the desktop, the PC, whatever it is completely decoupled. It's completely clean all of the time. There's no issues there. But then it's also forever connected to any PC you connect with, as long as you've got OneDrive accessible. So your desktop items, as it were, are then accessible from wherever you are. Again, that goes the same for Xbox Live. I think they want Live as a service, or sorry, Xbox Network. I can't get used to saying that. The network.
No, just say Xbox Live.
Yeah, they want that and accessible to everything, and that's what they're really kind of pushing, is their metaverse is being accessible anywhere and on every device if they can. Before we continue this, though, I will get round to the super chats. And the member
take off my timeout.
Well. Yeah, you come to your timeout, Vin. It's time for a timeout.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Muppet, first of all, membership.
It took you long enough, Rudy.
Yeah, you've been too quiet today. That's the point.
Membership for 2 months from Muppet. He said,
Go
just
on,
wanted to
Dutch,
say,
go on.
smash the like button or we are all epic. Next up, he has Vin's timeout. Get ready for it, Vin. A €5 super chat. Jez is awesome. He loves pineapple on pizza. Hot, hot, hot. Timeout.
Timeout. Definitely.
Oh, dear me. Right, let's try and go up a little bit
Love you,
here.
Jez.
Yes, the next one from Gamers Watch. They ask, Jez, Elden Ring to Game Pass. Is it going to happen or no?
I think we would have heard about it by now, but money talks, maybe Microsoft could be like, we could really sabotage the launch of Horizon with this.
Do you think with Stalker 2 obviously being delayed, they might do something like this then?
I think there's some potential, but there's that rumor that Sony has threatened retaliation against companies that do take the Xbox Game Pass deals.
Yeah, really? I've heard that.
Okay.
Well, it was obviously in that Epic legal case, wasn't it? There was some wording in these things that say you can't put it onto that particular service if you come over to use our service, etc. So.
Yeah, something like that. So,
but now they're begging for Activision to keep the games on PlayStation. But they're also threatening developers to not put it on Game Pass. Wow, great strategy, Sony. Fuck off.
It's I don't know.
Jim Lyon.
I understand why PlayStation behaves the way it does. It's because their whole business is PlayStation.
Yeah.
It's like they have to do this to compete. They have to be shady and they have to do some of these like deals and drive a chilling effect over genres. Like if you're a fighting game fan, you have to play on PlayStation. If you're a JRPG fan, you have to get PlayStation for Final Fantasy these days. And they're vague about launch dates and exclusivity periods on purpose because it makes people think like, oh well, I don't know, or I want that certainty that PlayStation offers, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. With Final Fantasy 7 remakes on Xbox, probably never happening.
No,
so,
I agree there.
I get why they do it. Like it's business at the end of the day.
Never.
Yeah. And it's the way that it's the way that they're used to, and it's the way that they're going to, and they'll certainly continue to do it at the second until, of course, they've got more studios. They're going to have more projects coming out, and when things start to roll out a little bit more steadily for PlayStation, some of these timed things aren't going to be as frequent when they've got the ball rolling. But until to fill that particular gap in between, you're definitely going to see a lot more of these. As like you say, you're seeing with Forspoken. Which has a lengthy exclusivity time period, like Final Fantasy 16, which has I think 2 years at minimum. Final Fantasy
Forspoken as well.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 7's 2 years at least at the second. I know it technically finished. I think it was April last year, but then because of the expansion, it got extended. So I think it finishes again, if not already finished now. I don't know. I've lost track of it now, but the Final Fantasy remake might or might not ever come to Xbox. Final Fantasy 14, God knows what is happening with that. But yeah, there's a lot of these things happening, and there's a lot of them going to happen going forwards. Again, like I say, we've still got the Call of Duty exclusivity stuff that we have to grin and bear for the next 2 years, the remainder of this year and next, and look forward to Warzone 2. Woo! But yeah, it's going to take a while. It's going to be the same for quite a bit. But Sony are used to it, and again, this is without sounding like there is no console war like people want to keep saying. But Microsoft, Xbox aren't competing in the same area as PlayStation, Nintendo. They're not trying to compete with them on the front that people think they are. When they said they're not competing in that area, they didn't mean we're not trying to compete with you in games and not create games. What they meant was you're not our competitors. You're not the ones that we're truly concerned about. Our competitors are Amazon and Google and Tencent and all of these big guys here who are ready to just throw down the gauntlet and buy big, invest big, and do these things that are going to rock the actual landscape. And that's what they
all of these big tech companies, they all have an anchor in culture, like at least one anchor. Like Facebook has social, although that's its whole business, but Amazon is Amazon, so it's got like its Prime, its music, its Alexa,
and AWS,
the Amazon speakers and
Twitch
and Twitch, and they sort of like they power retail, pretty much all online retail. So
it's the
Amazon
biggest
has its
cloud competitor as well,
culture.
isn't it? In AWS.
Yeah, exactly. They have their anchor in culture, but their real business is cloud, because companies pay way more than regular consumers do. So like that's Amazon's real business is cloud, but they still have that anchor in culture because it tries to drive positive sentiment across the brand. Apple has its music, and Google has its phones and search and stuff like that. And for Microsoft, they want their anchor in culture to be gaming, and
that's a good thing.
That's
right?
good. That's a good thing, because they want to preserve what gaming is. They don't want gaming to be at the mercy of how Tencent wants gaming to be, which is like where you play for a few hours and drop a microtransaction and stuff like that. Or everything's free to play and stuff like that. And there is a place for those games, but I do think it's pretty telling that Tencent doesn't really make single player games.
Yeah,
they don't really put out those kind of experiences very much, because that's not what drives huge amounts of revenue. So I've said it before, like, Xbox benefits from a strong Nintendo, and they benefit from a strong PlayStation, because that means that the three of them, the console trinity, they get to dictate what cool gaming looks like to some degree, and if one of these companies goes to Amazon or Google, then you're like, Amazon and Google's gonna be like, well, can we somehow get an ad tracker into this game? Maybe. And Facebook could be like, we've already seen Facebook do it. Facebook was like, okay, we'll buy Oculus Rift, and now you need a Facebook account to use your Oculus bloody Rift.
Yeah.
And Facebook's sort of backing out of that now because they realize it's a barrier, because there's no way I will ever get a Facebook account, which means I won't get one of their stupid headsets,
But you can't use the headset then if you don't have a Facebook account.
Yeah, no,
you need a Facebook account to use a MetaQuest headset right now.
Really?
Yeah.
But this year they're removing that requirement. But
okay.
You can't use an Oculus they're called MetaQuest headsets now. You can't use MetaQuest unless you've got a Facebook account.
Wow.
And I'm not just talking about like the way Microsoft has a Microsoft account, but you don't have to use Office and stuff like that. You actually need a Facebook profile to use one of their headsets.
Wow.
And that is not what you want gaming to be. You want it to be separate from all that kind of stuff. And Facebook's doing that now as well, after they realized their stupid mistake. But that's just the thing. What Phil was talking about is that these tech companies, they don't get gaming. They ain't gamers. Amazon spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this new world game that's basically a $300 million AA game, which is already dead. And they bought like a bunch of studios which haven't put out a game in years because they don't know how to manage games, studios, and stuff like that. They're a retailer, But Amazon should stick. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and Amazon had a console as well, right?
They've got their Amazon device. They're trying to build an Amazon Luna streaming service, which is a piece. It's a Win32 system. Actually, is it Linux? I think it's Win32. I think it's PC. They're trying to build their own streaming service, and they'll probably have exclusive games through. But imagine like if Amazon had bought that, and then like they put all Blizzard games as exclusives in their streaming service. Like streaming should be an option. It should be supplementary. It shouldn't be the only way we experience these things. And I think that's what part of this deal is about, preserving the status quo, because Phil is a gamer at the end of the day, and these tech companies ain't gamers. They don't have gamers in their companies. Zuckerberg doesn't know what a video game looks like. Zuckerberg's like.
I remember seeing that initial,
I don't even know what planet that guy's on.
I remember seeing that initial announcement video where they spoke about Meta for the first time. That was the most cringy scripted bullshit I've ever seen. That was so horrific.
Where he spoke to himself as a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, and he was this
like
fake
you say
hype.
with the
Yeah. Go on.
with the Oculus thing, yeah, that you need to like connect with your Facebook profile and stuff. That's the same thing which you have like now with mobile games.
Yeah.
You know, like to save your progress and that kind of stuff. Does it mean that also is gonna be like removed from that, or is it like, are they gonna keep that just for save your games and that kind of things? But
that's a good question, actually.
They're building like like Microsoft has a Microsoft account, but like you don't have to make an Xbox profile unless you use Xbox. Facebook's kind of doing this where you have like a Meta account, where like, and from the Meta account you make a sort of, you don't have to have a Facebook account, you just have to have like a VR account or whatever. I don't know. You don't have to make an Instagram or whatever. But right now you do need a Facebook profile to use their headsets, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But, yeah, that was just
I don't know.
Such a weird interview, but yeah, it's. I mean, God, I'm just glad, and this is what I need. Kind of everyone needs to stress, and everyone needs to relax, because they're trying to think that like they're trying to force particularly after this deal, PlayStation hardcores. Not everyone. The casuals don't care. The casuals see this as, well, if they can make a really good Call of Duty again, that would be nice. They don't care about anything else. Like the only things I've heard is, well, oh yeah, if Call of Duty gets better, that's what I'm really happy about. Outside of that, I don't care like who's bought them or who has them. In the hardcore, the concern is that they're trying to force PlayStation to do X, Y, and Z, but they're not, because that's not what they bought it for in the first place. Like, they're key.
I think Microsoft might try to break down some barriers with this deal.
Yes.
I mean, Call of Duty gives them a huge amount of leverage. And one of the things that we found out from the Epic court case was that Sony charges devs for crossplay. That
really?
obviously hurts. Yeah. Sony charges devs millions of dollars in the sort of, they call it like a lost revenue fee or something, to enable crossplay in their games. So there's a tax. They take a cut of the game sales, a cut of the transactions, and if you implement crossplay with Xbox or Nintendo, then you have to pay a cut on top of that as well.
Wow.
And for a big game like Warzone or Fortnite, this equates to millions of dollars. You know?
Yeah,
it's a huge amount of money. So obviously that hurts Xbox, because Xbox doesn't charge that fee because they're not in a position to charge that fee. Because they're the second, they're number 2 or number 3 at this point, with Nintendo Switch being as huge as it is. So they're number 3, and they're not in a position to charge that kind of tax. And obviously, cross-play hurts Xbox, because if one kid at school, if you've got a group of friends at school, and the most influential kid in the group says they're getting a PlayStation, all the rest of the kids get a PlayStation, and then they grow up PlayStation kids, and they never even consider buying an Xbox. So obviously, the whole cross-play barrier hurts Xbox, and it hurts Nintendo potentially to some degree. So I think Microsoft might use Call of Duty to leverage Sony to drop that fee for devs, publishers, and obviously themselves. And they'll be like, we'll keep Call of Duty on PlayStation if you drop this practice of charging people for crossplay, because you're artificially blocking sales of Xbox hardware here.
Yeah.
So I think they will use their leverage. I think like Jason Schreier said that there's three more Call of Duties under contract with PlayStation, one of which is believed to be Warzone 2, and then we got 2022's Call of Duty and 2023's Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And after that, it's anyone's guess what happens. I think Microsoft will keep putting Call of Duty on PlayStation.
Yeah.
But they will try to use that leverage to get concessions on crossplay, and maybe Game Pass itself on PlayStation. I don't know. But I do think I don't think they'll put Call of Duty on there for nothing. They'll want something in return for it, and I do think it will revolve around the crossplay thing.
Yeah.
But we may never hear about that publicly.
I think one thing they could use the leverage for, and again, they're never going to get rid of these timed exclusive deals. But when it comes to these larger timed things, you like your Final Fantasies who have like a 2-year exclusivity. Like that's not benefiting anybody. Like, what is the purpose of having a 2-year exclusivity? I can like even just getting
Well,
to
can
saying,
I say
listen, can you
can I
like
say something to that, Drew?
what was that?
Can I say something to that?
Yeah.
Because I bought a PlayStation 5. It's on its way here.
Yeah.
Because of those deals. Because I want to play Forspoken and Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
So there is, I'm one of those shit guys that bought it and get caught in those rules. But I really want to play those games.
Oh, like, that's understandable. Like I said,
I did it,
it's
but-
not like I'm against timed exclusives, because you have to, in certain circumstances, you will make these deals, and obviously they're going to have they're going to pay for exclusivity for certain games from third parties anyway. Like, certain games will be made specifically for first party, even though they're designed by third party, created by third party, etc. They'll be output as a AAA exclusive specifically for the platform. But these ultra long-term exclusivity deals are like, there is no benefit of them other than because when it comes to actually eventually releasing on the second platform, that game is 2 years old. Like, that game has been out for so long, people have already purchased it on the other platform, so it's a pointless thing. So then the metrics on that platform that it releases to the second time round are massively negatively affected. Like, the development timescale and the development cost it would have had to port that 2 years later would never be recouped, because it's never going to hit as much as the 2-year cycle it had on the original platform. So I think it kind of does hurt the developer in the long run, having these extra long exclusivity agreements. I think that's one angle Microsoft should go after. They're saying, listen, just like wind it down a little bit. We don't mind you having these exclusivity agreements, but 2 years? Like, what is there a need for that? Is there a Like, why does it have to be so long? Just like a year, we can understand, kind of. 6 months would be ideal, 6 to 9 months. But yeah, 2 years is just stupid. It's just.
I can get the timed exclusive deals, right?
Yeah.
The thing I was really shocked about is that they paid Capcom for Resident Evil Village, right? That it doesn't get on Game Pass, and the Xbox Series X version doesn't get better than the PS5 version. They paid Capcom for that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's shit.
Yeah, there's other
That's
games
shit.
as well. I think there was another. It wasn't a Star Wars game. I think it was a Star Trek game or something along those lines. Or it might have been it was Transformers or something. I don't know. It was a recent title like that, and they mentioned there was a PlayStation 5 version of the game coming out. And somebody asked them on Twitter, when's this going to have the Series X version? And they're like, it's not. And that's down to an exclusivity, because it's going to have a next-gen patch, but it's not going to have a next-gen patch for this one. And likewise, of course, on the Series X, but these are now first-party studios, certain games like Psychonauts has got the Series X version, but it doesn't have a PlayStation 5 version. And of course, that's going to remain that because that's internal studio now. But Xbox also pretty much ensured that Psychonauts is how it is today. There's a difference there.
Yeah.
It's not just paying for exclusivity. But yeah, it's. I mean, what are your thoughts on it, Boxy? Welcome back, by the way. After your internet died.
Yeah, thanks. Had to restart the router.
Time out.
Yeah. I took my time out, yeah. Cut myself some apple slices while I was waiting for the thing to reboot. Yeah, see, the thing about the exclusivity, I think I you guys know my stance on this. I think I'm not a Game Pass really changed my views on these exclusive third-party exclusive, may they be timed or permanent deals, because I always come at this from the point of a gamer, and I personally have as a gamer benefit if Microsoft would pay a certain amount of money to keep a game from PlayStation. I personally don't have a benefit from that. I don't, as a PlayStation gamer, I also don't have a benefit if Sony pays money for Final Fantasy to not appear on Xbox. I don't have a benefit from that. What I do have a benefit from is when Microsoft pays money to bring games into Game Pass. I prefer that kind of business model a lot more. That's where I save a lot of money. That is where I, as a gamer, have a benefit from, and I prefer these kind of deals. And I think this is really one thing, one of the many things that changed with Game Pass, where Microsoft really changed the mindset. At least for me, and I know I'm not alone. It's just something different to think about your own value than to think in the console war shenanigans, and that's what these exclusive deals kind of look like to me. I get the business ideas behind it, and there it is a business, and there is competition, but the way Microsoft does it with these Game Pass deals is kind of
a bit more fair
to me as a customer, and that's why I definitely prefer those. Not a big fan of these timed exclusive deals.
And you know what it is going forward, and I don't know, obviously we're expecting to hear about it soon, but obviously PlayStation have Spartacus, the rumored Spartacus, which is obviously their version of a game subscription service, much along the lines, I think it's just a revamped PS Plus, or whatever it's called, PlayStation Plus. But they could very well do the same type of thing, just instead of paying for exclusivity for a time period, just pay for it to go into that particular service. The benefit there is that people will associate it of going into that particular service day and date on release or whatever it is. They've paid for that exclusivity of it going into that service. Their gamers can play it there, but it still goes on the other platform. The negative of that is that, of course, the other person then has to pay the full price. Likewise, then the exclusivity agreement on Xbox, of it going into Game Pass day one, you get it in a service, you don't have to fork out for it. The other people can still play it, but they have to pay for it. There is the benefits there. Then nobody loses out because everyone still has access to it. But then each platform then can balance this. It's coming to our service this month, or this one's coming to our service, and then it's weighing up kind of this subscription battle. I think that's a little bit more beneficial for them going forwards. Jez, have you heard much about Spartacus so far? And what do you think it'll? Nothing about it yet. Nothing crossed your path.
It's PlayStation stuff's generally outside my wheelhouse, but I've been told for a while that Microsoft expects Sony to copy Microsoft 1-to-1. Day one Spartacus launches for their exclusives. Day one simultaneous PC launches. A PC Spartacus Pass, or whatever you want to call it. I think Microsoft firmly believes that PlayStation is going to copy their strategy 1-to-1, and I think we'll see that over the next couple of years. But we'll have to wait and see, right?
Yeah, to be honest, it does make sense, and again, it's just providing options. I think the only thing that hindered PlayStation, and of course, PlayStation is the most profitable section of Sony in general. The only thing that hinders them, of course, is I don't know whether or not they think they've got the capital to sustain a subscription service in its infancy. Like a true subscription service. Like Microsoft had the capital and the back end to say, we can take a loss on this for a bit. Like, it's not going to be profitable overnight. It's going to take a while to be actually generating any kind of, even at a baseline, or get to the point where it's now just neutral ground. It's going to take a while to get there, and I don't know whether that was the thing I think that is hindering, or was hindering, PlayStation getting into that subscription model, was how long is it actually going to get until we're at even keel and then starting to turn a profit on it. But I don't think they foresaw the fact that Xbox's Game Pass is only just enhancing the purchasing from people playing these games. Like, they're actually generating... There's more people buying games, there's more people playing games, there's more people buying things for games in terms of add-ons and microtransactions, so there's more spending than there has been before Game Pass came along. And even then with Game Pass, now with 25 plus million users, you're talking about almost £250 million worth of revenue in subscription services every month. I think, and PlayStation, with their huge user base, if they had a subscription model that was very much similar and had something worthwhile jumping into, like day one, like Jez mentioned, it would be a massive benefit to them, and I think they'd see a really big turnout and turnaround in how much that is actually pulling back into the system in terms of the microtransactions and the subscription costs. That is the benefit really going forward, and I think this generation is probably going to end up being more of a subscription battle than anything else. It's who can have the most lucrative subscription. Who's going to have that? Is it going to be Luna? Is it going to be Game Pass? Is it going to be Spartacus? Is it going to be Google? That is the thing going forward. It is, yeah. It's in Stadia, yeah. Is it going It's going to be a battle of the subscriptions. Who's got the most lucrative subscription? Who's going to earn your monthly dollar? But yeah, is there any final thoughts, Pat? What do you say about it going forwards? What do you make on timed exclusivity? Has it affected you in any way, shape, or form? Is there any games that have come out for PlayStation that have still not come out for Xbox that you really want to play?
Oh man, that's a good one.
Yeah, you do, because you want me to enter a giveaway for you, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
And
If I can win it, then yeah, why not? But I've said it before. Like, if there's one game that I really want to play, it's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Always been the films. I've probably watched them all.
Yeah.
So, like, it's really cool. And sometimes when I see it on like videos on YouTube and stuff, the game just looks really nice. And that's definitely one of the games that I really love to play. So yeah, I'll go for Spider-Man. But probably, like you've seen it all the trailers and stuff that from the games that are coming on PlayStation. Like, if I own one, I'll definitely gonna play some more games. But for me now it's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And we'll see if in the future, if I own one, then probably it's gonna be more games. So
I hope I win one for you, Pat.
yeah, me too, man. Me too. I entered as well, so.
But you have to be a cockroach then, huh? You have to be a cockroach. You have to wear a final shirt on the show.
Yeah, send me one. Send me one. I'll wear it.
All right, I have plenty. So.
We'll get to the final two super chats, and then we will get into the outros. It's been an awesome show today. Finally, obviously, Patcher has put €5 super chat there. We love you all in the chat. Hit that like button. Your support is amazing. Yes, it has been absolutely amazing today. Turning out for Jez and that Windows Central awesomeness. And of course, Crazy Louie Gaming with a $5 super chat. Boxenberger! I think he's floating around in there somewhere. But yeah, it's been absolutely awesome. Massive thank you for Jez, of course, in his hectic schedule, turning out. It's been absolutely awesome having you here, brother. Of course.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you very much for it, and thanks for your knowledge, your input, of course, and into WoW specifically. And of course, I want to see WoW on getting a console port. That might be difficult. We all would love that, no doubt. Specifically the casuals who might not get invested into the PC to try the game, but really want to. Would you see that as a final question? Would you see that happening?
One of the things they added last expansion was Xbox controller support. So you can play World of Warcraft with an Xbox controller and the Xbox adaptive controller as well, which is surprising.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it myself. I might try it out. But one of the weird things about WoW is that it's like the gameplay is designed around having mods, because you can mod the UI in WoW with these text files. And the text files automate some of the gameplay. So Blizzard designs the combat around having these mods.
Yeah.
So playing WoW on console without mods might require different balance tuning, but I can see it happening, because it'd give Xbox its answer to Final Fantasy 14. Even though Final Fantasy 14 is better, it's probably not coming to Xbox anytime soon because the servers are full and they can't buy any more.
But see, that's another thing
Warcraft servers are empty.
I was going to say that's another thing that Microsoft could very well negotiate with them to get them on Xbox, though. Like, we'll get you some servers. We've got servers. Like, do you want servers?
Yeah,
let's make a deal.
Maybe. I don't know.
But I would love to see WoW. I would absolutely love to see WoW come onto Xbox, and I mean, I could quite easily play it on this PC. There's no doubt, of course, because it doesn't require much to run on a PC. But To be able to see more people play it and try it that don't have access to it would be awesome. I didn't know it had controller support, which is even more intriguing to me now, so I might download even just a trial version of it to see what it is like with the controller. It's been a long time since I played WoW myself as well, a very long time. But yeah, we digress. Jez, it's been absolutely awesome, brother. You are on another show straight after this, so I will let you obviously let people know where they can find you, and of course what show you're going to be on. So if people who are still interested and want to go and see more of this awesomeness, they can go and watch that.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the Defining Duke podcast. I'm not sure if it's live or not.
Yeah,
but,
I think those are
hosted
pre-recorded
by...
on the Patreon first and then go out to the
Yeah,
public.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So that's Mr. Matty Plays and Lord Cognito on Twitter. Great chaps. And going to be talking to them about this whole stuff, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks a ton for having me. It's been awesome.
No, it's awesome, and obviously let them know where they can see obviously what you and your team do with Windows Central.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Jez Corden, JZCORDEN, and Windows Central Gaming, WC Gaming tweets, and windowscentral.com/gaming if you want to avoid all the Microsofty stuff, but then also windowscentral.com.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. Thank you again, brother, for being here today. Massive shout out to you, and I hope, of course, things start a little bit settled down because obviously January's kicked off in a way that we didn't expect it to.
Yeah, it has. Well, still yawning, man. It's getting late for me.
And
You
next,
need a Red Bull.
yeah, Red Bull. Yeah, you still got one more show to go. Next up, of course, Boxenberger. Again, you have another awesome show as well for yourself that you've just started. I had the honor of being the first guest last week. And this week, of course, you've got another awesome guest. Let people know, of course, where your show is and where they can find you.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. It's always a highlight of my week to be here with you guys. Jez, it's been awesome with you on the show. Yeah, people can find my channel. I'm the Boxenberger, very easy to find. As you said, additionally to my regular videos that I do, I started also a live podcast, a bit of a different format than this show here, with a smaller panel. Usually we only have one guest on. To have a bit more direct conversations and cover a bit more of the smaller and bigger news items. So that's going to air tomorrow, each and every Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Europe time. That's 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and 7 p.m. UK time. Yeah, the world of gaming, it's called. Looking forward to tomorrow. We have some awesome topics and a great guest, so can't wait for that. See you guys.
Yes, indeed. You've got Mr. Boomstick on tomorrow, don't you?
Yeah.
Boom.
Yes, exactly.
That'll be awesome. That'll be very awesome indeed. Patcher, how are you doing tonight, brother? If you let people know, of course, what you're up to. Are you doing any more streaming again this week? Are you getting back on the streaming bandwagon? And where can people find you?
Well, you guys can find me, of course, on Twitter and also on Twitch, of course. Didn't stream this week because I was a little bit baffled by the news this weekend that I finally got the results that I found my biological father. So, yeah, unfortunately didn't stream yesterday. Tomorrow I cannot stream as well because I have an online music bingo with work, so probably going to win some prizes.
Okay.
And you got some crazy prizes. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. So yeah, I'll probably be online this weekend for sure. Yeah, keep an eye on Twitter, guys, or notification on Twitch, of course. But yeah, like I said, I have a lot of stuff on my head, but we're gonna see. I'm gonna play some games this weekend. Probably gonna download some games that I never played before. So just
nice,
just random stuff.
Awesome stuff.
That's the best
Awesome
thing.
stuff.
That's the best thing.
Last but not least, of course, Mr. Vin himself. Let people know where they can find you and, of course, what you're up to. I know you've been trying to go through a lot of the PlayStation games at the moment on stream and kind of working your way through some of those kind of single-player games.
Yeah.
What are you playing at the moment? Where can people watch you play through these and where can they find you to kind of hit you up and chat to you about games?
Well, you can find me on Twitch for the gaming stuff. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Remake still. I haven't streamed in a week as well. It's been quite busy and we had some family issues and stuff. So, but I'm gonna continue tomorrow since I'm in quarantine now. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue tomorrow. With Final Fantasy VII then. And Sunday, I'll be streaming as well. And then we have a community event from Sea of Thieves.
Yes,
Because
we do.
it's
Yeah. The 2022 and 2023 plan for Sea of Thieves is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Sunday there's a special event, and I'm joining the guys from Xbox Netherlands, XBNL. I'm joining them Sunday and streaming that as well. And well, you can find me basically anywhere as Hertog Vin on Twitch, Twitter, OnlyFans, you name it, everywhere.
Oh my
Awesome.
Yeah, I started Nobody Saves the World,
Yes.
a game Pong Soul recommended on Living Split Screen.
Yeah.
And that's actually really fun, so I'm gonna continue that as well. And I'm almost halfway through my second playthrough on Scarlet Nexus. I finished the Yuito story, and I'm now working my way through the Kasani story.
Yes.
So I hope I'll finish that as well this week. And yeah, I think that's about it. What I'm gonna play, and I hope my PS5 gets in somewhere this week.
Yep. You have to let us know what it is, how you like it, because Boxenberger's the only one here with the PlayStation 5 as it stands. So,
but if you want me to do an unboxing video and impression video, I will make it for you.
yes.
No worries. But as you know, the problem is it's being sent from abroad.
Yeah.
So I hope it doesn't take as long as the controllers. But
Oh God, I know. Yeah, it's gonna be about 3 months. Mate.
yeah, it's from outside of the European Union, so I don't know how long it sticks at Border Patrol.
Yeah. You
We'll
never
have
know.
to see about that. So.
Yeah.
No, so but I will make, if you want, I will make a video for you. Then you can see my first. It comes with Spider-Man, so especially for Petje. So Miles Morales.
Nice.
I can do some stuff from that as well.
Nice.
But that's about it, I think. So
Awesome.
where can we find you, Mr.
Yes.
WandrinDutch?
Yes. So of course, myself this week, I'm a little bit more quiet for a change, but yeah, this week, of course, you can find me on the next midweek mix-up weekend edition on Sunday with the General C, just covering off all the little bits of news that we've had throughout the week. So I'll probably be covering off the Sea of Thieves info, the Crisis 4 announcement, and many other things that have come out over the last kind of 24 to 48 hours, as well as probably the rest of this week. So that'll be awesome. And again, that's on a Sunday, late afternoon, should we say? So it's 6:30 in the UK, 7:30 in the Europe, and then of course 1:30 in the afternoon for America. Following that, of course, you can find us here as always on Midweek Mix-Up next week. Again, a massive shout out to everybody who turned up today. I hope you had an awesome night. And of course, please make sure you like and share this out and subscribe if you don't already. It is free, so why not? But I hope you have an
only
awesome
one time
night.
out.
Exactly.
Yes.
Only one time out.
Yes, only one time out. You did well.
I have a feeling that'll change next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're on your best behavior this week.
New record.
But yes.
Hey, thank you, Jez. Awesome meeting you, man.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah, it was awesome to be here. Thanks, guys.
No, you're welcome, bro. You're welcome. Go and get yourself a quick stretch before you jump onto the next podcast. Everybody have an awesome
Need more
night.
tea.
Yes, another coffee. Yep. Have an awesome night, everybody.
I think so,
Enjoy it. Go and enjoy
guys
some
very
gaming. And we'll see you all again next week.
See you guys.
Goodbye.
Love you all.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.